Do you feel relieved when plans get canceled and secretly enjoy staying home more than going out? You're not lazy or antisocial. Your brain might just be wired differently, and psychology explains why. Sometimes when I ask someone about this, they flush a little, like they've confessed something intimate. And I want you to hear this first. That quiet relief you feel is information. It's a signal about how your nervous system organizes the world, how your brain values certain kinds of input, and how your emotional energy is spent. You may notice that after a few hours in a noisy cafe, or after a long evening of small talk, you feel depleted in a way that's not just tired. It's like your battery has lost its charge. Over time, you learn to conserve that battery. And so home becomes less of an avoidance and more of a habitat, a place where stimulation and safety line up in a way that lets you think, feel, and recover. There are a few psychological pieces that often come together in people who prefer staying in. Introversion is one. Not a moral failing, not a social defect, but a temperamental tendency to prefer lower levels of external stimulation. Then there's dopamine sensitivity and how your reward system responds. For many people, social novelty lights up reward pathways. For others, predictability and small, reliable pleasures. A warm mug, a book unfolding, the ritual of an evening produce more consistent, positive feedback. You might also have higher sensory processing sensitivity. That means sounds, light, textures, even emotional tones feel richer and more intense. And when stimuli are intense, you need more downtime to integrate them. That's why solitude isn't empty space for you. It's active recalibration. It's where your mind organizes, where memories knit themselves back together, where creative thinking often surfaces. Childhood patterns matter too, though not in a single linear way. Maybe you grew up in a busy household and learned to find refuge in a bedroom corner. Maybe you learned early that quiet equals safety. Or maybe your family modeled deep internal life, parents who read, who took evenings quietly, and you absorbed that as normal. Over time, those early routines shape how you regulate emotions. Coping strategies form, choosing peaceful settings, preferring one-on-one conversations, avoiding crowds when possible. These aren't arbitrary preferences. They're adaptive responses that helped you manage arousal and find equilibrium. And yet, because most social calendars privilege the loud, the visible, the gregarious, you can feel minorly betrayed by culture. Like the world assumes your downtime is a problem to be fixed, rather than the sensible maintenance it actually is. In relationships and at work, the pattern shows up in interesting ways. You may be deeply loyal, intensely present in close conversation, and astonishingly observant, noticing small changes in tone or mood that others miss. And you might also accept invitations slowly, decline with a little guilt, or make last-minute exits from gatherings because your internal meter has dipped. Sometimes you worry that others see this as flakiness, or that you're not participating enough in someone's life. But often, what's going on beneath the surface is a negotiation between social expectation and personal capacity. You care. You just have a different currency for how you spend it. You may wonder if this is social anxiety or avoidance. Sometimes those overlap, sometimes they don't. Social anxiety brings a fear of negative judgment. A preference for staying home doesn't always. Many people who love home are comfortable with people. They simply prefer depth over breadth. They'd rather talk for an hour with one trusted friend than make small talk at a party for 3 hours. There's a subtle distinction there, and it changes everything about how we understand behavior. One is about fear, the other is about reward and energy management. There's also a quiet social cost. In a culture that celebrates extroversion, you can internalize a sense of being less than or not trying hard enough. Over time, that can create shame or a small, persistent self-doubt. Why don't I want what everyone else wants? But when we reframe this as wiring and learned regulation, you see something more generous, a different set of strengths. Imagination, reflective capacity, the ability to be alone without loneliness. These are not deficits. They are ways of attending to life that make certain kinds of living possible. Deeper projects, sustained thought, emotional richness. Sometimes you might not even notice these patterns until someone else points them out. Other times, you recognize them early and protect them fiercely. There are gentle contradictions inside this. You may crave connection and yet crave recovery. You may love people and still prefer the slow architecture of evenings at home. And that's human. That's how complexity feels, pushing in two directions at once and folding both into a single life. So if you find yourself feeling a little relieved when plans fall through, or if you defend a Friday night at home like it's sacred, pay attention to the feeling without turning it into a verdict. Notice the rhythms of your energy. Notice what being at home gives you. Calm, clarity, a chance to be the person you are without performance. Sometimes the most insightful work of our lives happens in those unremarkable rooms, with quiet rituals, small comforts, and the soft accumulation of ordinary moments. And sometimes that's enough to hold the whole rest of us steady, quietly and without fanfare.